Joining us now in the studio is Erica Berenger. She's a senior research fellow at Oxford University and an activist for the #NotHim campaign. So I want to talk in a minute about the campaign now that he's out of hospital and so on. But how did the march come about? What was the kind of the momentum behind these marches?
That's a really interesting question. It came about on Facebook. So it was a Facebook group. It started by a woman about protesting against him and about all his misogynist views. And in 3 weeks, 3 million women joined the group. And then we decided collectively to organize marches in Brazil. Today, there are over 200 marches in Brazil and also marches outside Brazil, like the one in London that had just arrived.
And so, politically, in the past, have women been as engaged as this? Or so do you think it'll make a difference in terms of the election? Or will they just be out on the street and then not get round to voting? How do you think the impact will be?
So it's mandatory to vote in Brazil, and women account for 52.5% of the electorate. However, we never had a voice. We come from a very macho culture. We never had a political voice. And this is the first time that women are gathering as women. That's what is bringing us together, to have a political voice. So I think that will have a difference. And
it's been interesting. How much difference has it made, do you think, the fact that there was this attempt to get on his life and he's been in hospital? Has that meant that actually people who are opposed to his views have held back and haven't wanted to really criticise him because it hasn't looked particularly fair because he's in a hospital bed? What happened to him, of course, is absolutely, it's wrong. It should be condemned. But even from his hospital bed, he continued with his hate speech. He had plenty of statements made live through his social media that still criminalize the left or anyone that opposes him, and saying that if he doesn't win, it's because something was manipulated. So, I mean, do you think that, as you mentioned, he's very much active on Twitter and he's done these kind of interviews that are kind of appealing directly to people through the television. How much do you think momentum can he still build before the election? So the way it works in Brazil is that at the moment we have 13 candidates, and if someone gets 51% of the votes, it's elected straight away. But if it doesn't, we have a second round with the two most voted. And that's what is going to happen this time. He has 30% of the voters. So even though he's been out of the game, out of the campaign for these 3 weeks that he has been in hospital, the momentum will build again, because now he's back on the streets and he's definitely going to go for the second round. Do you think that one of the things I noticed he said is, I know you're disappointed with politics, this is your chance. Is that quite a powerful message in Brazil at the moment, to play on the kind of the disillusionment with the politicians and the political class? Yes, and it's a powerful message that plays both ways, plays both against him and to him. So people that are pro-Bolsonaro say we are so disillusioned with everything, we want to change. We want someone that hasn't been in power, even though he's been in power for 27 years. But he's just been in power in Rio. So people outside Rio didn't know him as a politician. But people that are against him also say we need a change, but it means not you, they've been in power for 27 years. And what about the kind of the women's rights issues in Brazil? I mean, is this something that is more about what he's been saying, or is it to do with the way people are treated? I think both. We've been treated poorly for centuries. We come from a very macho culture. Feminism is something very new in Brazil. But his speeches are bringing that all backwards. All our, how can I say, everything that we have conquered so far, he's trying to destroy, like saying that women should be paid less because we get pregnant. So I think all these movements about fighting back what he's saying you cannot do that, you cannot cut our rights, basically. Yeah. One of the things I noticed that some people have say they like him, and then they seem to kind of disregard the things that he said that are offensive, because they say essentially they don't want Brazil to become another Venezuela. How do you fight against that kind of idea that actually he's the only one who could sort of protect Brazil from becoming a Venezuela? I think that's a very interesting comment, because the Labour Party has been in power for 14 years. And Brazil hasn't become a left-wing dictatorship like Venezuela. So why now would it become? It kind of doesn't make sense. So it's really hard if people think that the fact that he makes tons of racist, homophobic, or misogynist comments is not important. If you tackle the dictatorship argument, people still won't hear. I think Brazil is suffering right now from what America suffered in 2016, which is whatever fits my narrative, I'm going to go with. So whatever is outside my narrative is fake news.
And on that point, I mean, I suppose that one of the things you mentioned, the women's movement was sort of coordinated through social media. How do you kind of counter people being in their silo, you know, just reading on social media what they want to read and not actually hearing what the other side is?
I think that's a very difficult thing at the moment that I don't have the answer. Is my greatest fear as a scientist. So on my day job, what I do is to doubt everything that is presented to me and go to the source. And that's what I've been trying to show to people around me, not only within my bubble, but I'm outside my social media bubble, to my family, and say, go to the source, check it out. I know we all don't have the time, but on a few things, check it and try to see if it's true or not. But it's very hard, and I think that's a challenge for the rest of the world as well.
Erica Beringer, thank you very much indeed. So good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.